give you a little history of Sweden first, because I think history is important. Between 1870 and certainly the Second World War, and maybe even until a little bit after the Second World War, Sweden had the most capitalist economy in the world. In the world. It was the freest economically of any country, freer than America. And indeed, during that time, major Swedish industries were created. It was among the richest countries in Europe, I think it was the richest country in Europe on a per capita basis. Some of the biggest companies in Europe were based in Sweden. Their industry was famous. It was an incredibly wealthy society. And then around 1960, Sweden decided to become socialist. So what did they do? They took all the money that had been accumulated by all these families over decades, and they started redistributing it. And they lost their industries, and they lost their lead. By 1979, the biggest industry in Sweden, anybody knows what the biggest revenue industry in Sweden was? ABBA. The rock group, the pop group, ABBA. You know what the second largest industry in Sweden was by the late 1970s? Johan Berg, the tennis player. They had decimated their industries. And by 1994, Sweden was basically Greece. It was bankrupt. It couldn't pay its debt. Since 1994 to today, Sweden has been shrinking government spending, reducing regulations, even reducing payouts. It has a voucher system for education, which we don't have in the United States. You can send your kid to any school. And basically, Sweden has become a lot less socialist than it used to be. It still has high taxes, still redistributes a lot, less regulated than the United States. It's easier to open a business in Sweden than in the United States. It's easier to be a banker than in the United States. So first, if it's utopia, it's not a socialist utopia. It's just a different mixture of a mixed economy than America is. So that's one. Sweden has no free speech. Sweden has hate speech laws. If you paint a painting that people find offensive, you can go to jail. You can look this up on the internet. A Swedish painter about a year ago went to jail for painting an offensive painting. Now, it was offensive. I admit it, right? He's a neo-fascist, awful painter. You still shouldn't go to jail for this. Freedom of speech should be sacred. You should be able to say anything. Right? It could be stupid, it could be insensitive, it could be racist, it could be anything. You have a right to say it. People can shun you, people can choose not to talk to you, but you can't go to jail for that. In Sweden, you go to jail for it. Somebody put up a YouTube video a couple of months ago in Sweden, claiming, I don't know if you know this, but Sweden has the highest rate of rapes in the Western world, maybe in the world as a total. So somebody went on YouTube and said that that was caused by Muslim migration. I don't know if that's true or not. They were brought in front of a judge. They were taken to court for saying that. And the judge said, I don't care if that's right or wrong, it's insensitive, you can't say it. That's not a utopia in my mind. Swedish entrepreneurs, if you're really ambitious, where do you go? To America. I always suggest this experiment, and I wish somebody would take me up on it. Let's have no immigration controls between Sweden and America, and let's see which way they go. I bet you most of the Swedes go to America. But let's make it hard, because you might say it's because of the weather. They want to go to California. Let's make no immigration controls between Sweden and Minnesota. Minnesota is very cold, and it's where most of the Swedish immigrants live. I bet you they'll all go to Minnesota. A lot of them will go to Minnesota. America's a much better place than Sweden. Our homes are bigger, we're richer, we drive nicer cars, we have a higher standard of living by any measure of standard of living. There's no comparison. Sweden, if it was ranked based on states, the wealth of different states, would rank in the lower half of wealth per capita of states in the United States. It's not that rich. We're much richer in America for that. It's more equal. But equality is not I'd rather be rich than equal.